Hello, fellow makers. So, fiddling around with Laser Cutter and Tinkercad, and you can design in Tinkercad for a laser cutter. If that's your bridge, if that's your gateway to do it, if that's what your students know best, you can work at. Um, I tend to use a website called cuddle.xyz, CUTTLE.xyz. They have some free accounts. But Tinkercad, if we're playing in Tinkercad, using Tinkercad a bunch, you can take this next step to go to laser. So I also playing with some cardboard. And so I engraved, I cut, cut, and I'll show you what was, this is the inside of the penguin. And I'll show you how I did this. As you might guess, I am in Tinkercad. I want a new design that I go to the noun project. Free, browser based, you can get free SVGs because Tinkercad wants an SVG. I get this icon. This is the penguin. Basic download, continue, download the SVG. 26761. Awesome. And then come into Tinkercad and import up top right. Choose a file, noun project, penguin. That's what I'm playing with. Open, click on art, and 670 is like way too big. 67 centimeters. I just changed it down to about to 100ish. 100 centimeters, 100 millimeters, 10 centimeters is about across your palm, maybe including your thumb, depending on how big your hand is. So it's importing. So you're going to have to, it's a matter of adjusting the imports. And then when we export stuff, we have to export it separately to some extent. Like that engraving I did, I had to export that as a separate thing so it would come into Glowforge as a separate entity. This is taking way too long. And so I don't want to stop us. There we go. Alrighty. It doesn't matter how tall, thick it is, because it's just going to export the outline basically. So if I just export this, let's change our name. Penguin. Alrighty. If I just export this, we're going to get the one thing you saw before, export SVG. It's got to prepare, it's got to download it. I got to go to Glowforge, create a new design, upload an SVG. I called it Penguin, right? A Penguin SVG. Open. Okay. Processing. All those are going to come in, the lines are going to come in as basically a cut line. I could change it to an engraved line. Let's see what happens when I do that. Yeah. All right, here we go. So here's our penguin. So that's all going to cut. And you saw what that looks like at the beginning. What happens? Oh, what happens if I change that to engrave? So it does that. But it doesn't cut it, right? And if I change it to score, it just does like that and gives me different settings, right? Okay. So this is where you start having to play with maybe multiple ideas. Like if you wanted to engrave that and make it look like that, you would then have to bring in a second. Ooh, let's see if I can just copy and paste it. And no, it's stuck in here together. I was hoping to be a second entity here. All right, so I'd have to bring in a second. Let's see if we can make this work, because here would become the problem. If I bring in the penguin again, it should come in as separately, right? That's what I'm hoping. And we could cut it. Now I'm hoping we could put it on here perfectly, or kind of perfectly, right? And then we could make that happen. We could have it cut out. We could have it engraved and cut out. So you're going to be kind of not so much layer. Yeah, think of it as Photoshop layers, doing different things. Okay? So you could do that. if you wanted to. Obviously, just know your settings for your material. Adjust them as you need. But there are some other things to look at. Like if I wanted wanted this to be a keychain, so I would need a circle basically. I want that to be 6, and I want this to be 6, and then I want this to be the hole to be 3. That is assuming that this is all the size that I want it to be, right? Bring my ruler over here because I hate when you keep going away on me. Because we're making things this size, right? That's the whole point behind using Tinkercad, is we're using it to size things, right? I want to align those, group those, and then I want to stick it on here to be, the kind of hole for the keychain, right? And then group that. All right, so let's export that and just see what we get. Boom, boom, boom. So import. This is now penguin, what, like 2? Oh, 1, 1. Really? Oh yeah, because I just imported the same one. Okay. So you see what we get. We get another hole cut thing. And that's, how to make a keychain. But we put the circle, the circle there, and we grouped it. Now let's try something else. Let's just set you aside. Let's just delete you for now. All right, let's bring our penguin back in. Let's bring our penguin back in. All right. Art 100, import. And let's go over here to this fill mode and do silhouette. And watch what it does. Boom, fills it in. Okay. So if we want to do that, if we want to have it all filled in, we can do that. Obviously, we can add our keychain part here. I'm in millimeters, so I think a 3mm hole is a nice size hole. I need to align those two together. Boom, boom, boom. I'll group them. All right. Set you somewhere and group that. Okay. Now, if we want to do like an engraving, like I had, a name engraved on it, come up here. You could use the text, right? That's there. We could use the text thing that's there, but there is another one. Script, and search for script. Boom, found it. I don't know why it's set somewhere else. It just is. Okay. Use Tinkercad to make things the size that you want to make them. That's going to be a little bit too big. I'm going to shrink it a little bit, kind of put a boom. Now, those are the same size. The size actually doesn't matter, but I'm going to make this one shorter just so you can see something. Okay, so that's obviously shorter, right? Now, if I export this, I've got both of them selected, and we're going to go back to Glowforge. We're going to bring that in. This should be what, penguin 2. Okay. Dum dum dum. It's thinking because it's got more stuff to think about. The slowest part of these things is always the processing. That's like, boom. Where did the name go? Yeah, it doesn't show up. Doesn't see it. So what you have to do is get it there, get it all sized. Even if I had grouped it, it wouldn't see it. Is you kind of get it the size you want, and then you export them individually. So I'm going to export this one. If I just select it and export it, And then I go to my Glowforge. I'm going to import that, 3. Penguin 3. Boom. So it brought in my penguin. Boom, there you go. And then let's go back here and then click off and just select the name, the text that we did, and export that. And then we're back to the Glowforge and we're going to import that. And it's just going to say Penguin 4, right? Because it's just the 4th time I've done this. Open. I think it's something with how the script is that it's making it a little bit harder. Boom, there we go. All right, so now we've got choices because they're in 2 separate things. Do we want to cut it? Do we want to score it? We can score it. As you see, it's changed colors. Or do we want to engrave that? And you saw it filled in. Okay, so when you brought it in separately, it now gave you options. You kind of can't bring it in together. So there you go. Design some stuff in Tinkercad. But if you want different things to happen, like in scoring and engraving, you need to separate them in Tinkercad, and then import the pieces. Import the pieces into Glowforge, and then put them together. And I could resize this as a whole if I wanted to, but that whole I kind of made a certain size for a reason. So resizing that is also changing that whole that I made a specific size. Make sure you set your wood, get your settings, set your materials, get your settings, and you are good. So enjoy.